We're so thrilled that you could all be here today. We're so thrilled that you're all interested in the NextGen Cup challenge, and we'll be very brief because we know we want to get to the meat of this. But all we wanted to share with you is that we are deeply and extraordinarily committed to finding a solution that meets the needs of our customers and our planet. And that we as a company believe so wholeheartedly that this has to be a broad, global-based solution. It has to meet all the commercial viability and all of the needs of our business, but it also really has to meet the needs of the global infrastructure and recovery system. And we are so dedicated to that's why you've seen the full breadth of our team that we've put onto this. I think it's important to know that our leadership is behind it wholeheartedly. We're getting questions and feedback from our most senior level of leadership constantly, and really eager to see the creative solutions and out-of-the-box thinking that can help bring a long-term business and environmentally sustainable solution to life. I'm going to turn the camera over to Andy, who leads our packaging research and development, to say a few words as well.
Yeah, I mean, really building off of what Megan has said, as I've been with Starbucks for approximately 2.5 years now, the challenges that we face in developing something that actually meets all of our needs from a consumer perspective, from a safety perspective, from an environmental perspective, really, we haven't found that sweet spot. And the way we've approached development, kind of in isolation between ourselves, our competitors, some of our other companies and cohorts within the industry, just isn't working at the end of the day. So part of what I'm super excited about is the ability to partner across to develop pre-competitive solution and find ways to really shape the industry, because scale is one of the very important things that enables us to make this come to life at the end of the day. If we continue to work in vacuums, we're not going to make any movement in the industry because the infrastructure will never catch up. So I'm super excited about what we can accomplish, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the creative solutions.
And that's a really fantastic transition, is that we know that we need your help to solve this, but we also know, as Andy's saying, that we need our peers to help solve this. And that's why we're so proud to be collaborating with McDonald's, as well as with Coca-Cola and Yum. It is, I think, a real signal to how important this is to all of us. And I think with that, I'm going to transition to Lane at the McDonald's team, with the McDonald's team.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and go with a yes there. So thank you, Starbucks, for the great introduction and for kicking us off. I think I'm here with my colleague, Jess. I lead global restaurant sustainability and specifically the packaging and recycling work as far as it relates to sustainability at McDonald's.
And I'm Jess Marshall. I'm a program manager on our North America side, also focused on packaging, waste, and recycling.
And we also have someone else in the room with us that will just have a quick hello.
Technology.
This is Mike Meyer from the McDonald's team as well. And we are just thrilled that you're here today. I think this year has marked a year for us where we, in 2018, the beginning in January, we launched a series of goals that we call Scale for Good. And it's really about thinking about how do we use our scale as a force for good to really advance certain solutions that are going to have good environmental and business impacts. And one of those pillars within that Scale for Good platform is packaging and recycling. And one of the things that we came to as we were thinking about getting recycling in all of our restaurants and committing to using, renewable, recycled, or certified packaging is this is a big goal, and we need our scale, but we need beyond our scale. We need partners like Starbucks, like Closed Loop, Coca-Cola, and Yum, and you to really make this happen. So we're thrilled that you've come to the table. We're excited to hear your ideas. And I think particularly we're really excited, in addition to the to the scale piece is also this out-of-the-box thinking that Starbucks mentioned. I think, we have been trying to tackle this problem for quite some time, and we've made some successes, but we're still a long way off to figuring out how to close the loop here. And it's really exciting to have a group of people in the space to help us think in different ways and tackle this old problem from a new perspective.
Yeah, I think Starbucks really covered a lot of the detail and we have a very similar opinion, and we also have, our leadership is very, very supportive of this as well. So we are just as excited, and we're really looking forward to seeing what comes out of this.
Great.
We'll turn it back over to you guys.
Excellent. Thanks so much all for your great intros. We're going to go ahead and turn our video off so that we can share our screen and focus on the slides as we talk for the next 45 minutes.
Great. So thank you all again for joining us. It's lovely to be able to hear from our consortium partners and have their thoughts contribute to this conversation and this movement for the NextGen Cup Challenge. A couple of housekeeping items before we dive in today are to, one, as you're calling in, please make sure that you mute your microphone so everyone can hear one another. Second is to ask questions in the chat box and tell us where you're calling in from. We have two lovely folks on our team who are here and going to be interacting with you in the chat. And again, answering your questions and directing you in the right direction for that. And then lastly, we will be sharing the recording following this call along with this slide deck. So yes, you will have access to this information to be able to refresh and also pass along to other team members who may not have been able to make this call. While you sent in a lot of questions to us as you RSVP'd for this webinar, and we'll be undoubtedly asking more questions throughout our call today, we won't be able to answer all of them in our time together. However, we will continue to address your questions and follow-up communication touch points, so please don't hesitate to ask whatever is on your minds.
And just wanted to add that as you're chatting, go ahead and chat to all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see the questions you're asking and we can all grow and learn together.
Great, thanks, Chris. So we'll dig into it, the challenge. So most of you are already seeing the challenge question by now, but this is what we are asking you and your teams to tackle for the NextGen Cup Challenge. The challenge question is, how might we design the next generation to-go fiber cup to be recoverable on a global scale while maintaining the performance standards that we know and trust? The challenge arc looks like this. So we've already dived into the ideation phase and we're accepting proposals currently, and will continue to until the deadline of November 16th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. This is the deadline for all of the initial ideas phase submissions, so please, please, please mark this on your calendars, write it down, set multiple reminders, because again, we will not be accepting any proposals after that date. Next, we have the refinement phase of the challenge, which is when 30 teams from the ideation phase after a period of review will advance into the refinement phase to go deeper on their concepts, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that will look like shortly. So again, please mark November 16th on your calendars. The prizes that we will be awarding for the finalists for this challenge is that up to 10 winners will receive awards, with up to 6 of the most promising solutions receiving funding and advancing to join a business accelerator program, which Kate mentioned earlier on the call. Solutions will also be considered for partnership agreements with the consortium partners, and solutions advancing into the accelerator program may enter into an equity share agreement with the challenge managing partner closed loop partners. We are so excited to offer $1 million of prize funding for this challenge, and that will be broken into 3 tiers for early generation concepts, middle generation concepts, and next generation concepts. All of this content and information is provided on the challenge brief, so if you want to go deeper or again have additional questions, please don't hesitate to send us those. For this challenge, we have 2 submission tracks that you can select from if you're a community member joining the challenge. The first is publicly viewable submissions. So the public submission channel permits ideas to be viewed and further developed by the entire OpenIDEO community. At OpenIDEO, we find that opening ideas to a global community with a variety of experiences, cultural backgrounds, and areas of expertise holds rich learning opportunities and the potential for real and lasting impact, including inspiring conversations and unexpected collaborators. By submitting this idea through the public channel, participants agree to allow the submissions to be viewable to the public. The other option is the non-publicly viewable submission track. We understand that not all innovators will want to share their ideas publicly. To account for this, we have created a submission track for those innovators or companies who wish to opt out of sharing their ideas openly with the broader public. If this is you, and you would prefer your idea to be viewable only to the NextGen Consortium and panel of judges, please select the non-publicly viewable submission process. By opting into the non-publicly viewable submission track, you will not only be able to take advantage of the OpenIDEO community to generate feedback, build upon one another's ideas, or receive targeted comments and questions from our global network of innovators. This goes for both submission tracks, but please do not submit confidential information as part of your application to the NextGen Cup Challenge. And we encourage you to think thoughtfully with your teams after reviewing both the public submission track and the non-public submission track, which fits your needs and which feels more aligned with your process. And we encourage you to visit the terms and conditions, and you'll notice this as you opt into the challenge, that terms and conditions will pop up. Please read through those, and if you want to go deeper on publicly viewable or non-publicly viewable, paragraph 19 is the one that you want to tune into for that information. Next is evaluation criteria. The evaluation criteria is broken up into 3 different systems. So the first is the section that goes over systemic evaluation criteria. So we ask that folks address the cup and cup system. Solutions will innovate for the hot and cold fiber cup, which can include liners, the whole cup system with a lid, straw, and sleeve. Reuse and alternative delivery systems are also welcome. We also ask folks to consider that their idea looks at performance. Solutions must meet or exceed the industry's current health, safety, and environmental performance standards. We have a really in-depth list of additional resources that are attached to the brief, and we encourage your team to look at those as questions around industry standards and health, safety, and environmental performance come up. And lastly, we ask that ideas look at the ecosystem. Solutions should seek to be relevant across the entire food service industry rather than exclusive on one product or one business. For the evaluation criteria, we're also looking at value adding. Are these solutions recoverable? Do they seek to enable recovery of raw materials at the highest possible value across multiple global infrastructures? Are they recycled content? Solutions should seek to include recycled material and minimize virgin material and resource use along the entire development chain. And last is sourcing. The material content of solutions should be sustainably, including renewable, and ethically sourced, including both virgin and recaptured materials. And lastly, we ask for inclusivity. Are these solutions adaptable? Can they be adaptable, designed to be commercially viable in the near term, while also considering rapidly changing recovery infrastructure and technology in regions around the world? Are these solutions global? Will they consider the global marketplace? And are they designed for implementation in priority markets of North America, Europe, and Asia, with a secondary focus on South America and Africa? Or consider a local approach to solve regional issues with the to-go cup? And third, experience. The solution should seek to improve the cup experience for customers, businesses, and the world at large. Again, all of this evaluation criteria is attached to the brief, and we highly encourage your teams before diving into the design process to read through this thoroughly and also revisit it before posting your submission on the platform. And now we'll get into submission requirements. The requirements for the ideas phase, we're asking folks to submit to us a solution overview, a technical overview, user research, and a prototype. And then for those 30 ideas that are selected and moved into the refinement phase, we ask that folks can go a little bit deeper and look at materials and recovery, scale and production plan, business plan, and creating a more high fidelity prototype. We do ask for an initial prototype and mock-ups for your submission for the ideas phase, but those folks who are moving into the refinement phase will ask for you to go deeper on that prototype and deeper on your initial submission for the ideas phase and add an additional layer of these requirements. Again, that will be, those 30 teams will be decided after a review process with our consortium partners as well as our OpenIDEO team internally. So, but it is helpful to have a sense of, if you do advance into the next phase, what will be asked of your team. And now I would love to turn it over to our NextGen consortium to provide some perspectives on what they're most excited about with the challenge. And to kick us off, I'd like to hand it back over to Kate Daly, who's the Managing Director of Closed Loop Partner, Managing Director of the Center for the Circular Economy in New York. And she's going to share about her vision and goals for the challenge.
Hi, everyone. So I know that we already covered a lot of material, so I'll just say briefly that really what I'm most excited about is the opportunity to see innovators and entrepreneurs from so many different regions around the world, and also to see some solutions that are at really different stages, from early stage growth stage to established global companies who are all expressing interest. And I'm excited that now with this week's launch of the application, you've all been able to see what are the types of information that we're looking for and really be able to start to share with us your ideas, your products, the markets you've identified. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all of those and having a great global and diverse representation of the many different types of solutions to replace the current fiber cup, whether that's in diverse materials, recyclable, compostable, and also the reusable options. So very excited to bring to fruition the vision that the consortium and all of the consortium partners have had for making sure that we're sourcing global solutions and also doing a lot of work really identifying what is the landscape of the infrastructure that exists now and how do we make sure that we align the solutions with that infrastructure and make sure that there's a market value of the cups that we have coming out the other end. So I think I'll end it there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing those thoughts and sharing your perspective. And next, we're excited to hand it over to Megan, who we heard from earlier at Starbucks.
Hi, everyone, again. We've been asked to share a little bit about the NextGen Cup Challenge and how it fits into our overall global social impact goals. And so I'll be really brief, but certainly if you have questions, please put them in the chat box or we can follow up. We at Starbucks are always striving to answer to the question that our Chairman Emeritus Howard Schultz asked us, which is, what is the role and responsibility of a for-profit publicly traded company? And we try to answer that question in many ways because it's a really big and lofty one. But in particular, in environmental impact and sustainability, we're focused on four to five key areas. The first is sustainable coffee, and we've done a ton, as I know our partners at McDonald's are as well, to really make coffee the world's first truly sustainable commodity. The second is that we're focused on our store portfolio and making sure that our stores are as sustainable as possible. We have a goal to build 10,000 greener stores globally, and last month at the Global Climate Action Summit, we announced a new open source framework building on our 15 years of lead building to build all of our stores to this new aggressive and holistic framework. The third is that we are really focused on our sustainable packaging, and the NextGen fits into that, but we also have a number of other commitments, including to increase the recycled content in our cups, to drive reusability in our stores, including offering a discount for customers who use a tumbler. And we've committed to eliminating plastic straws globally by 2020 and really reducing overall straw usage by introducing a strawless lid for our cold beverages. And that lastly, we have over 300,000 employees, partners, who wear the green apron at Starbucks every day, and they are our sustainability champions. And so everything we do, we're working to give them the tools and resources to operate their stores sustainably and to implement change in their communities. And so we've created a course that over 8,000 partners have enrolled in, learning about sustainability and sustainability at Starbucks. And all of that comes together holistically with the work that we do in our communities and through the Starbucks Foundation to make an impact.
Thank you so much, Megan, for sharing that perspective. And now we'll hand it over to Jess and Elaine on the McDonald side.
But I'll just go into a little bit more detail on that scale for good. So historically, McDonald's has always looked at our scale as not necessarily a good thing. And we've decided to kind of turn that on its head and look at what impact our scale can have for the better, or obviously scale for good. And that's what we've named our new brand strategy. And it's actually made up of 5 pillars. Our beef sustainability, our commitment to families, our youth opportunity, climate change, and then also, most importantly to us, our packaging and recycling goal. And like Elaine touched upon earlier, our packaging goal is that by 2025, 100% of our customer packaging will be made from renewable, recycled, or certified sources. And then also by 2025, we would like to have, our goal is to have recycling in 100% of our restaurants globally. So those are obviously big goals, and definitely ones that in terms of our packaging and from the recycling side really are supported by the NextGen Challenge. So once we did put out our Scale for Good strategy, we saw a really easy fit with this NextGen Challenge, and it really made sense for us to join in the consortium and see what we can do with our other partners like Starbucks and like Yum and Coke to kind of use that overall scale of all of us for good.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And thank you to all of our consortium partners who offered their perspectives and why they were motivated to dive into this, this challenge with us. We look forward to hearing more from them. So now we're getting into the Q&A portion of our time together today. So we'll be answering some of the questions that you submitted to us as you RSVP'd for this webinar. Again, we will not be able to answer all of your questions, unfortunately, but do continue to send those to us, and we will continue to find those answers and get back to you. So the first question that we'll be addressing today is from Bob in California, and he asked, are you open to using materials other than fiber to help solve the challenge of today's beverage cups not being recycled? Kate would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Thanks, and hi, Bob. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, we are absolutely open to different material types and new and different types of delivery systems that serve the purpose the fiber cup currently serves. That's the key proviso. Thanks for your question.
And this question is from Tom in Bristol. And he asked, are you looking for a single outcome, or could it be a staged rollout or a multifaceted solution? Hand this back over to you, Kate. Looking forward to hearing it.
Great. Thanks, Tom. That's a great question. We are anticipating seeing a lot of different types of solutions in different stages, early, mid-stage, and products that are already out at market. And we need these solutions to accommodate a lot of different parts of the world. And so we're really going to be looking at a lot of different stages and a lot of different alignments with infrastructure across different different areas. So we're looking at different phases of companies and looking at this as really being both a short-term and a long-term solution where we're identifying materials of the future as well as today.
Thanks for that, Kate. Another question coming from Taiwan, and Douglas asked, can the solution address both the hot and cold cup? Chris would love to hear your answer for this.
Sure. Thanks, Douglas, for your question. So the answer is yes. Solutions must be recoverable and address the fiber-based hot and cold cup. However, ideas may also include cup lids, sleeves, straws, liners, and also consider reuse and alternative delivery systems. So to answer your question directly, ideas may also consider hot and cold cups separately. So we're open to the full range. And as you'll see, when you go to submit an idea on the actual submission form on the challenge, you can also preview those submission questions in some of the links that we sent out in our launch email yesterday, as well as on the challenge brief site. You'll see that there are a number of selection categories as you're submitting an idea to note whether you're solving for the hot and cold cup, whether you're addressing lids, straws, and liners. But we are looking for something that's really addressing the holistic system.
Thanks, Chris. Another question coming from Brendan in Australia. He asks, the program seems to be geared towards redesigning the cup only. Are projects that redesign the collection system eligible? Kate, I'll hand this over to you.
Thanks, Brendan, for that question. The challenge is definitely focused on cup solutions. That's really where we want to see the innovations. But if you're doing work that is relevant to the cup collection and the cup system, although that's outside the scope of this challenge, it's definitely something that would be of interest to us. So it's certainly something that we'd be happy for you to share with the team.
Great, thank you. Suze in California asked us, is the ideal solution a new disposable design or a behavior-changing non-disposable design? Chris, I'll hand this one off to you.
Great. So as we kind of mentioned in the previous answer, sort of parroting back the language that we've got written in the brief, solutions must be recoverable and address the fiber-based hot and cold cup. In terms of behavior-changing non-disposable designs, if that's covering something like an alternative delivery system or potentially like a cup take-back program, if those cups are non-disposable, but you're changing user behavior and eliminating waste out of the value stream, that's certainly something we will consider. And again, just make sure to note and select that in your opportunity area and in your submission form when you're posting your idea.
Thanks for the results, Chris. And next, Spain, and we have David asking us, how do you define fiber cups? Kate, this sounds like a great one for you to tackle.
Thanks, David. So the fiber cup that we're looking at is made of wood fibers extracted from trees, used to make materials, including paper, like what's used in the current cups. And the paper cup, as we all know it, as largely what's in the market today, is typically single-use, disposable, and it's made of fiber with a lining made of wax or plastic to give it a hydrophobic quality, to prevent leaks, to make sure that it retains the heat or cold over time. And so that's how we're defining fiber.
Thanks for that. I think that's super helpful context for our community. Another question that I'll shoot over to you, Kate, comes from Mark in New Mexico. And he asked, what are your criteria on sustainability?
Mark, we have a lot of information on this on the challenge webpage. So I encourage you and everyone else who's listening and watching to check out the section on our webpage called Additional Resources, where we list many of the relevant standards and certifications for recyclability. So you can see those criteria there and how they apply to the product that you're applying with.
Great. Thank you for that. And as we've emphasized throughout this call today, there's a lot of resources on the brief, which Kate just shared. So please, please, please do continue to pour through those resources and shoot us additional questions around those if they come up. Kate, I feel like I'm inundating you with questions, but here's another one that I would love your thoughts on. Charlie in California asked, does recoverable mean reused, or can recoverable mean composted?
Thanks, Lauren. Charlie, it really can mean both of those things and more. We're looking at what the life cycle of the cup is now, and after each of us uses a fiber cup, and it goes on to the next phase. When it's collected, the processing and the use of the cup's raw material components, that's what we're characterizing as recovery. And so for the hot and cold fiber cup to be recoverable and not go to landfills when we're done with it, the materials that it's made of have to have a value to an end market so that there's an incentive for the recyclers to process it, to separate the materials, and then to be able to have a buyer for those materials. And so recovery markets can include, but are not limited to, recycling and composting, and reusable cups are included in this category of recoverable.
Thanks, Kate. Another question coming from Brian in Ohio. He asked, what is the top, all capitals, priority, recyclability or compostability? It would love to hear your thoughts again.
Sure. And so, Brian, I think I can say safely that the consortium's top priority is to find the best solutions. And we want to see the best solutions that meet the performance standards and the other criteria and are recoverable, whether it's through recycling, composting, or a reusability scheme. And we understand that the availability of recycling and the availability of composting, et cetera, varies regionally across geographic areas, and the type of infrastructure that's available varies. And so we really want to see solutions that address those categories that are the best solutions.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate. A question coming from John in the UK, and he asked, who owns the IP and or any patents for ideas and solutions created during or submitted to the challenge? Chris, I'll hand this one off to you to provide some context here.
Great, thanks, Lauren. So yeah, we're sharing out the language that is included in the terms and conditions. And so you can take a look at section 19, paragraph 2 in those terms. Also, you will have to click accept to those terms in order to post an idea on the platform. So do make sure that you take a look at those before you post. But to answer your question, yeah, each applicant will retain their intellectual property ownership, including rights, trademarks, service marks, and or logos of all of his, her, or its challenge submission ideas, including but not limited to methods, materials, technologies, and other know-how related to the challenge criteria and technical overview. Subject to the license contained herein, no transfer of intellectual property to any third party, including without limitation, the consortium partners or any member thereof, or the challenging managing entity, Center for the Circular Economy at Closed Loop Partners, will be required of any applicant as a condition of your participation in the challenge or the accelerator. So a long legalese answer, but yes, you will retain your IP. And again, we really encourage you to take a look at those terms and conditions before getting started.
Great, thanks, Chris. A question from Australia. Saxton asked, do we need to make our product available to the partners as a result of this process? Kate, I'll hand this question off to you.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Sax, for that question. And I just want to flag that the information about IP and also the information pertinent to this question are all available on the website under the heading Terms and Conditions. So when you go ahead and start to enter your application, you'll see those terms and conditions, and we'll be able to see this information that we're sharing today and a lot more. To answer the question about making the product available to partners, the NextGen Consortium retains the right to separately engage in transactions with the applicants, and each applicant agrees by entering the challenge to allow consortium partners to buy products or license technology from the applicant on the most favorable terms provided by the applicant to anybody else, to any other similarly situated purchaser under an agreement entered into within 24 months following your entry into the challenge.
Great, thank you so much, Kate, for providing some more color to that question. Another question, Kate, that I would love to hear your thoughts on is from Binu in Australia. And that question is, how will these ideas be hosted in the real world? How important is it to have an established brand and not just an idea/business plan?
That's a great question, Binu. Thank you. And we really are excited to see what some of the early stage solutions will be in addition to the more established companies. And so it's through that initial application process that will determine the viability of the idea. And then if your idea proceeds to the refinement phase, then you gain access to mentorship. You'll receive food service and recovery system industry access to testing, piloting, and enhancing the solution through partnerships. There's the potential for capital investment through participation in the accelerator, and the potential for licensing through consortium members. And so we want to make sure that early stage ideas have access to that level of support. And in many ways, some of the later stage and more established ideas will also need some of that support as they work on scaling their product.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. And I would just add to that for those early stage groups or ideas that are posting, we're certainly open to that. We've included a prize tier directly aligned with early stage submissions. However, one thing we will be really looking closely for are teams that are willing, eager, and able to take their concept forward beyond the challenge. So any of our solutions that will be considered as winners, we'll be looking for that. So be sure to tell us about yourself and your team and share your plans in your submission so that we can get a better sense of how you plan to move forward with your concept.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that, Kate, and also Chris providing some additional context for those early stage folks. This question comes from Ada in California. Her question is, are McDonald's and Starbucks considering multiple providers for global supply chain needs? Kate, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. So that's a great question. And the McDonald's and Starbucks as the founding consortium partners absolutely recognize that different areas need diverse solutions, that different areas have different infrastructure and recovery options. So we're absolutely looking at solutions that provide that diversity and multiple solutions.
Great, thank you so much, Kate. And another one that I'm also curious to hear from you on, Kate, is will products with a premium price be considered? And that was asked by Brian in Ohio.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. That's a great question. And so we haven't set a price target or a price cap as part of the challenge criteria, because we understand that depending on the stage of a company and where the product is in its development, that price is going to change a great deal over time as the solution scales. And so we haven't established that price premium or price cap. Certainly the product should have a sort of realistic production and processing life cycle, but there is no target price number that we've set.
Great, thank you so much, Kate.
And we will be asking for, for teams that move on to the refinement phase, which is the second phase of the challenge, we will be asking for business models and some pricing models. Again, if you're early stage and don't have those numbers totally set in place, we'll be looking for sort of best guesses and educated estimates on pricing.
Great, thanks for that. And Chris would love to hear your thoughts on this question, which is one that we've heard from quite a few folks. And that's for the ideas phase. Will we need to have a prototype ready, or is the concept okay? And that was asked by BJ in Korea.
Great question, BJ. Thank you. So for the first stage, the ideas phase of the challenge, we are requiring a minimum of some sort of visual representation of your concept. Of course, keeping in mind that you may not have yet had time to develop a really high fidelity prototype or a physical prototype for testing. So we will be looking for something along the lines of images, diagrams, 2 or 3D graphics and models. Of course, a more developed prototype can only help increase your odds of advancing. So we encourage you to begin planning this early. And another important thing that we'll be looking for is evolution throughout the challenge. So for those of you who are maybe a little bit earlier stage, That's okay to get a kind of a scrappy prototype visual representation up there early. We will be looking to see how that's evolved over the weeks and months of the challenge. For the second phase, we will be requiring evidence of a higher fidelity physical or rendered prototype, along with evidence of testing and feedback with potential users.
Great, thanks, Chris. And some additional context as well is that in phase 2, so that's the refinement phase of the challenge for those 30 concepts that move forward, we will be also offering in-depth mentoring for those ideas and mentoring sessions. So having a prototype that you can focus the conversation around for those mentorship sessions and receive additional feedback and support will also be an option in the refinement phase to go deeper on that idea. Erica from New Jersey asked, is there a limit to the number of team members, especially in an academic setting? Chris, would love you to answer this one.
Great, thanks, Erica. With OpenIDEO, any and all types of teams are welcome. We encourage folks from all over the world at all different levels of development and knowledge of the topic to get involved and jump in. And so there's no limit on team size. However, as mentioned, we do encourage participants to tell us about your team, indicate your intention to carry this concept forward, and really bring it up to scale following the challenge, since this will be a requirement for top idea consideration. Again, we've got opportunities to upload team videos, tell us about your team and your background. On the platform, you can, as you join the OpenIDEO platform and sign up for OpenIDEO, you can add team members to your concept, so you can have your full team with profiles and photos up there, and it just really helps bring your idea to life and let us know who's behind the concept.
Thanks, Chris. Jason from Minnesota asked us, there are products already commercially available in the marketplace right now that are certified compostable, use renewable resources, have the performance of non-compostable cups, and are priced competitive. What's different about the products that you are interested in? Kate, this one would be a really great one for you to answer.
Members have been actively testing new compostable and recyclable cups that come to market. They share feedback with the innovators and work to help them understand industry needs. And what we've seen to date is that no new material has proven both commercially viable and able to meet the industry's strict health and safety standards and, meet all of the criteria that we've set for the cup. And so that's why we're really excited to have done this call for innovation to see what is out there, what are the new materials, and how can we make sure that they get the support they need to become commercially viable and match the needs of all of these providers.
Thanks so much for that, Kate. I think that's a question that has come up for quite a few of our participants, so really appreciate you offering your thoughts.
Great, and I just wanted to also note that we are seeing your excellent questions coming through in the chat, especially for those more technically oriented questions. Do chat them to us. We're capturing those, and we'll be sharing out more refined answers to those technical questions in the coming days and weeks.
Great, thanks for that, Chris. And thank you so much, Chris and Kate, for answering all of those questions. I know that was a lot of content to get through, but these are questions that have been coming up frequently for the community, so we really appreciate you offering your thoughts. Again, I'm going to keep emphasizing this date, and I'll also emphasize this date to you on the platform, but November 16th at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time is the last time that we will be accepting submissions from teams. So please, please, please be sure to get your ideas up on the platform. We also encourage you to submit your ideas early. You do not need to have the entirety of your concept completed, but you can provide some additional thoughts on the platform and get your submission process started. Myself, as well as other community members, if you do opt for the public submission channel, we'll be providing comments and feedback on your ideas. So the sooner that you can get it up on there, the better. We encourage that. As Chris just mentioned, we are seeing all of your amazing questions come through, and thank you so much. We look forward to continuing to answer those questions, and especially the technically oriented questions, connecting with experts on our side that can provide those answers to you and support your submission process. As questions come in after this call or as you revisit this material, look at the submission questions or the evaluation criteria, please, please, please do email those to us at nextgencup@ideo.com. We will be checking that regularly and getting back to you on that
Right, and just to reemphasize, really do send those questions, even if it's just a one-off question that pops into your head. Those go directly to Lauren, myself, and Hannah and Danielle on our team. So we'll be taking a look at those and making sure that we're getting timely responses to those.
And lastly, thank you so much to all of our consortium partners who were able to join us today and provide their thoughts and perspectives on why this challenge is such a meaningful initiative across the board to all of them. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you in the community who have dedicated time with us this morning or wherever it is in your end of the world to share and to hear from our consortium partners. So we look forward to continuing to connect with you and seeing you on the challenge platform.